All right. Good morning and welcome to Coffee with Colleen or Coffee with Peggy. This morning we've got Natalia, is it Ibarra?
Ibarra.
She's from Kiva. She's the manager for the U.S. partnerships for Kiva, based out of San Francisco. And this is a pretty incredible program. It helps small businesses that maybe wouldn't normally be able to attain any sort of capital up to $15,000 and at a 0% interest rate. So we're going to be talking about their innovative loan program, and I will turn it over to Natalia. Do you want to share your screen?
Yes, absolutely. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. Just like Peggy said, my name is Natalia. I'm based in the Bay Area, and I work on the domestic arm of Kiva.org. So where we focus on loans that change lives for entrepreneurs throughout the US. So today I'm going to run you through a quick presentation that just really shares what Kiva has to offer and really guides you through the borrower journey. So Peggy, can you see a big green slide?
I do.
Yeah, awesome. Great. So the problem that we are trying to tackle as Kiva.org is that 40% of US entrepreneurs lack access to affordable capital. Right. And oftentimes these groups are the most vulnerable. So historically, women and people of color, those who are credit invisible. And even though we do have CDFI friends, some CDFIs, need to charge a high interest rate in order to just break even. So, a couple of years, about 10 years back, somebody at Kiva.org said, this is a problem within our own backyards. And it's a problem that we want to try to solve. So for us, what that looks like is being that first rung of an otherwise inaccessible capital ladder through no fees, 0% interest business loans. So our product is no collateral, no business loan, no credit score, 0% interest, no late fees, no application fees. It is a product designed strictly to benefit entrepreneurs within the US. And we're really proud of, what we would call inclusive credit indicators, knowing that 60% of the borrowers that take a loan out with us have been previously rejected from traditional financing. More than half have what, would be considered a low credit score. And then, more than 2/3 of our portfolio are women and entrepreneurs of color. And although we are, serving the most vulnerable of populations, our repayment rate is still about 80%. So that for us is something we're really proud of. So since 2011, when Kiva US, right, so the domestic arm of Kiva.org began, we facilitated over $50 million with the help of millions of lenders to over 8,000 entrepreneurs. Our borrowers are, female entrepreneurs, people of color, Black-owned businesses, a lot of startups, immigrants. We also cater to those returning to society, those formerly incarcerated, as well as, average household income is about 65. And then our businesses are, those mom and pop shops. So those coffee shops that you know and love, that have 1 to 5 employees, and personal and or business networks that are willing to back them. So just, again, to just be crystal clear, 0%, no fees, no collateral, crowdfunded microloans, right? So these are being crowdfunded on the Kiva.org site. So if you were to go right now, you would be able to see the 100 plus US entrepreneurs that are currently fundraising. Although we do have business verifications and background checks, we really do focus on what we call social underwriting. So that's being able to work directly with the borrowers. The Kiva US program is a direct lending program. So we, by we meaning Kiva, underwrite every loan, review every loan, facilitate the funding of the loan, as well as disperse and act on the collections. So because of that, we're able to have a really close relationship with all of our borrowers, and then through our networks of partners as well. So just to kind of give you the timeline, it takes a few weeks to fully fundraise a loan with Kiva. We do have two parts of a fundraising period. So at the initial, once you've applied and accepted your loan offer, you'll start at the fundraising period. And this is our social underwriting component. So this will be a number between 5 to 40, depending on the size of your loan. On how many folks you're going to be recruiting to support and back your loan. So this is, again, our way to mitigate for risk, as we are so flexible, happily so flexible with more traditional standards of underwriting. Once you complete the fundraising period, you'll go ahead and launch into the public site. And that's where you'll have access to our millions of lenders that are waiting to fund your loan. Takes about 7 days to receive that loan in full through your PayPal account. And then you begin repaying a month after. So for those that are interested in a Kiva loan, kiva.org/borrow, we do work really closely with our partners on the ground. And those are folks that, are sharing the Kiva opportunity through outreach, networking, workshops, partnerships. So without our partners, it would be inaccessible for us to be able to reach an audience nationwide. In order to be eligible for a Kiva loan, you must be 18 years or older. Your business must be operating within the US. No current active bankruptcies, but you are absolutely eligible to apply if you have, a former bankruptcy that's already been resolved. And then no violent or financial convictions within the past 5 years. So you are eligible if it's been over 5 years, and you are eligible if you do have a conviction that is not violent or financial. Through the application, we'll ask you for some general personal and business financial information. We will ask you for your credit information. No minimum credit score is required to apply. And then we'll also ask you to create a crowdfunding profile. So in the crowdfunding profile, if you go to kiva.org, again, you'll see, just different stories and businesses and loan purposes. So this is, we really just give you, the tools to create and be able to, share what your personal story is, what your business story is in your own words, and then be able to share with the lenders, what you're using the money for. And so I wanted to show you. So this is a business that recently fundraised a $15,000 loan with us, right? So they were born out of the joy and celebration and love for Black culture, with the recognition that Black imagery is underrepresented in the paper goods and holiday industry. So they fundraised in order to fulfill some purchase orders, and have since been able to, to share their business through marketing opportunities. This is another borrower that fundraised a $15,000 loan, near where I am in Oakland. Because we are able to facilitate a direct lending program, we also have this really awesome feature where our borrowers can send updates to their lenders. And so this is an update from Briar herself, saying in her words, "When I realized it would be almost impossible for me to get a traditional business loan, I thought about giving up. She thought about scaling back. She, had jobs and offers on the table, but it seemed impossible without the funds for equipment and inventory. So she shared that, I came on here as a final attempt to help my business after the effects of the pandemic. And I'm humbled by your overwhelmingly support. Thank you to my friends, family, peers, and lenders from all around the world who came to support my story." So this is why I am at Kiva. I work at Kiva, and this is the work that we try to support, is really being able to connect lenders all over the world, to fulfill these loans that support our entrepreneurs. So once you have your crowdfunding profile ready, like I mentioned before, you'll start into private fundraising. So here you'll see, in this example, they had to get 10 lenders at the beginning before commencing the public profile. So you'll be able to see that green bar, tick up as you start gaining your lenders. And then once you achieve those minimum lenders, you are onto the public Kiva fundraising profile. So these are just some examples of the kind of folks that are fundraising. Yeah, and then, last but not least, fully fundraising a loan. This is a 3-time borrower, actually based out of Oakland. She was able to raise a $25,000 loan with us. And then last but not least, in terms of just partnering with Kiva, we do have a full menu of options depending on, the type of commitment you want to spend with us. Right. So anywhere between just being a referral partner, if you have folks in your area that could benefit from the opportunity, to anywhere, from a Kiva housed managed loan revolving fund. So different types of opportunities to partner with us. I will leave my email in the chat. Should anybody here be interested in that? And then this is just one of our hubs. So one of those, really large partnerships that we have throughout Wisconsin with WIBIC. So this is from Darb, who says about 30% of WIBIC's annual income is from grants. Many of our grant makers want to see us service more clients while operating efficiently. With the Kiva loan product, WIBIC is serving much more of Wisconsin without financial risk or significant investment of our own. Combine that with the data that Kiva provides us, like how many small businesses we help start, and we're able to use that information in our proposals to get more funding for operating expenses of WIBIC. We strongly agree. We absolutely love the work that WIBIC does, and it's been a win-win-win all around. I'll stop there. I know I shared a lot of information on both just what that process looks like for a small business owner, as well as briefly opportunities to partner with us. So yeah, if anyone has any questions on either side, please do let me know.
A fantastic program. I haven't heard anything like this. How did this get started?
Yeah, so this Kiva.org was actually started back in 2003, 2004 with the big focus on international development. So Kiva US is one of the most newer programs that, again, was started just by leadership, understanding that there is also a big impact to be made within the States.
And how many employees would you say you guys have now?
Yeah, I think so. Just Kiva wide, there's about 120, if I were to guess, less than 150. And then on the Kiva US team, there's less than 10 of us.
Wow.
Yeah, so small but mighty.
Yeah, absolutely. So the underwriting process, essentially, you go through your crowdfunding first and you find was it 25 people? Or does it depend on?
Yep. So it depends on the loan size. And then, so you'll apply for the loan. You'll be able to request a loan size as well as those repayment terms. And so by the time that your loan application gets reviewed, a member of our review team will let you know, hey, this is what you're qualified for. This is the amount of lenders required to begin your campaign. Would you like to participate? Would you like to continue? And then from there is when the fundraising begins.
Great. Yep. It looks like we have a question from Lena. If you want to go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Great. This has been really interesting. I'm a local accountant and work with a lot of small businesses. Most of them, I'm not sure that many of my clients would be the target market for you, but I have a few questions. So one of the questions I have is, when somebody gets a loan through Kiva, does it establish or build their credit at all?
Yep, that's a great question. So we are working to roll out business credit reporting later this year. We haven't started yet, but by the end of this year, we want to start providing the opt-in option for the loan to be reported on their business credit.
And then if I may, I have actually a little list of questions.
Yeah.
So the initial support that they get from like their family and friends, is that also a loan that's repaid to those people?
Yep, exactly. So the entire loan is 100% a loan. So the whole loan must be repaid. And we also work with corporate partners and foundations that do create these loan matching funds that I briefly mentioned at the end. So for example, we have a campaign with UMQA in matching some borrowers in Washington, in Oregon, in California, and in Idaho. And that's another example of, even though they are contributing to the loan, the loan, it will get paid back in its entirety.
And then it looks like on your slides, the loan, maybe the average loan is around 15,000, but what is the maximum? Because I noticed that the one person received up to 25,000.
Yep. So the maximum publicly is 15,000. We, again, because we're a direct lending program, we get the ability to experiment with some borrowers. And so because that borrower, she's fundraised 3 or 4 15K loans, that was kind of a side experiment we're working on with her.
And then what is the, it looks like the repayment amount, the length of the repayment is usually between 12 months and 36 months. Is that pretty standard, or does the borrower like get to pick that, or how is that determined?
Yep. It kind of just ranges from loan size. So the smaller the loan, it'll be closer to 12. And then if you take out a $15,000 loan, it'll be 36 months. We have just a grace period built in. So repayments just start exactly a month after you receive your loan in your PayPal account.
Great. And then my final question is, do you have an international program? I'm a member of Seroptimist in International Port Angeles, which is a local service club, and we had sponsored a similar type of program, but it was overseas. And I don't know if it was associated with your organization or maybe something different.
Yeah, so Kiva does have a really large international portfolio. And so it works a little bit different. It's not a direct lending program. We work with microfinancial institutions in 80 plus countries. And so through those partnerships is how we're able to reach those populations. But we do have an international program.
Thank you so much for the information. It's been really interesting to hear about.
Yes, of course. Thanks for the questions.
And we have a question in the chat from Rebecca Miller. She says, superb program. I agree. How does Kiva sustain itself?
Yep. So we, in our menu of partnerships, there are some that are fee related. So for a hub, for example, it's basically a local Kiva office in your market. There's a fee associated with that, as well as if you wanted to set up a loan revolving fund, there's a fee associated with that as well. So revenue through those sources, as well as, grants. Yep.
It looks like Erica Lindholm from Craft 3 has a question for you. Go ahead, Erica.
Thank you. And hello, Natalia. It's so nice to meet you. And I'm so excited about you guys coming to the peninsula. Craft 3 is a CDFI, and you said it exactly right. I mean, we lose money on all our loans, certainly below 100,000, and 250 is and below is even hard for us to break even. So we need to fundraise for those. So so really excited to have the full spectrum available on because our smallest loans are 25,000. So but I have a few questions as well. Lena, thank you. You asked a lot of mine. I wanted to ask though as well, the technical, do you partner with folks like CIE, Rick Dickinson, who's on the call, for helping with the pitch, you know, the profile, you know, helping them get ready for their loan application to you and their profile?
Yep, that's a great question. Yes, so we are super excited. CIE is a Kiva trustee. And so exactly, so they're going to be our boots on the ground, you know, reaching populations around the peninsula, and exactly to your point, providing that technical assistance on the ground. Kiva ourselves, we do have a national technical assistance program, but again, we would be nowhere without our partners.
Yeah, fabulous. And then do you have, so you talked about underwriting for debt to income. Do you, for startups especially, like when there is no existing business documentation, are you able to work with borrowers that aren't able to show, like I'm thinking Native Americans who don't file taxes, for example, or not, you know, if they earn all of their income on res, that kind of thing. Like, how do you deal with that?
That's a great question. Absolutely. So we take both personal debt to income as well as business debt to income. And so through the review process, every single loan is being reviewed by a real human being. And so we have access to reaching out via email or text, you know, if there's anything that we need to clarify, because to your point, a lot of our borrowers don't have tax, you know, just tax reports or papers in general. Right. And so, we've received a different array of documents. So we're able to kind of be flexible because of our social underwriting.
Okay, so you find other ways to document their existing, and do you do it on existing debt to income ratios or projected? Existing, okay. And you can use a variety of documentation to evidence that.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's another reason why our trustees and our hubs are so important, because the idea is we, you know, build a lot of trust with our partners. And so if they, you know, are the boots on the ground and they have this relationship with the entrepreneur, they know the way their business works, even though it might not be, you know, traditionally what a bank might look for, we're able to leverage those relationships.
Fabulous. Okay. And then my last question is has ABC, like what is the maximum amount that any one person can contribute to a loan? And maybe it's just A and B. And then does everybody get paid back? Or no, so what are the terms that they get paid back on? I'm assuming you're not like, if for every $25 contributed, you're not like giving them a small payment, you know, once a month. Of 25 cents or whatever it would be.
Yep. So
and then does everybody get paid back even if the loan fails?
Yep. Great question. So number one, wait 1 second. I can remember.
The size. Yeah.
The size. There is no limit to how much somebody can contribute to a loan. Okay. I think the real engineering question, I think the limit is, you know, in the thousands. But again, the idea is to leverage the millions of lenders that come and do have the 25, 50 bucks to kind of foster the cycle of relending. So there isn't a you know, strict maximum that you can lend, but the idea isn't to fully fundraise a loan for somebody. Question number 2. Oh my God, I'm sorry. It's early.
Yeah, no. I was the terms, like how do they get paid back at the end of the loan?
You're right on top of it. They get paid back as the lender repays their loan.
As the borrower repays.
So,
okay.
Yeah, let's say I qualified for a loan smaller than I wanted and I paid back my loan in 4 months, 5 months,
Mhm.
then you would get your, $25 back or however much you contributed to the loan.
Okay.
And then finally, I do remember your last question. There is risk associated with lending on Kiva. So right now we have an 80% repayment rate. So the missing 20 is right. So out of your $100, you've gotten your 80 back, and the 20
Right.
are
Okay.
a loss.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. This is
Yeah.
great. When are you going to start? I mean, are you already started on, are we already giving you customers from the Olympic Peninsula?
As soon as we get somebody there.
Okay. Okay. All righty. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Erica.
Mhm.
And the EDC is also becoming a trustee and will be able to help businesses as well.
Fabulous.
And so the $25, it's a $25 minimum. Is that
To
correct?
lend. That's right.
To lend, right. Is the $25 considered a donation? Is it tax deductible for those people?
No, because it's not a donation, it's a loan, just a small loan. Yeah, there are, through, kind of those partnership vehicles, there are opportunities to donate to Kiva, which would be, a tax deductible opportunity. And when you do donate to Kiva itself is, but if you're lending those dollars being contributed to an entrepreneur, you'll get back. So that's a loan.
Okay. And does this work for startup companies, or is this just for, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we don't have any minimum years in business to qualify or to apply.
Okay, so the financials that you would use would be their personal and their business plan and things.
Yeah, their business plan, yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, I will drop my email in case you want to chat about Kiva US in any way. If you have any questions, post this call. Yeah.
Fantastic. And it will be up on our website as well, probably by this afternoon. And I think Colleen has a question. Colleen?
Hi, Natalia. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. I'm sorry I couldn't be on Zoom.
That's okay.
Yeah, so does a borrower have to show that they were turned down by a traditional lender in order to qualify for the Kiva program?
Nope.
No. Okay. And so, we're an economically distressed community that, traditionally had been very reliant on natural resource industries such as fishing and also timber, and that has declined over the decades. And so we're quite rural, and we don't have a lot of large businesses. We've got, the vast majority of our 6,700 businesses in our county of 78,000 people are folks that have 0 or 1 or 2 employees. And a lot of folks really struggle. And they're maybe in the construction industry as an example, but they're not necessarily minorities. But they are making our average wage in our county is $42,000, but our median is $35,000. When you consider the folks that make $400K or something, it of course skews the average. And so if the median person is only making $35,000 and they're trying to do a startup business, but they don't fall into the categories of BIPOC or veteran or is that something that
So you cut off at the very end, but I think I understood your question. And Kiva doesn't discriminate against any ethnicity or race. So absolutely, we're here to support those who have been excluded, some in more ways than others. And, so yeah, there's plenty of space for those that have, experienced financial inclusion in some way.
And what if they have more than 5 employees? Could they still be considered?
Yeah, I think it's so that was more of like a snapshot to share what our average portfolio looks like. But yeah, so the minimum eligibility wise, it's super a low barrier of entry. So I would encourage anybody, over the age of 18 and that has a business at the federal level that is interested in the Kiva loan to apply.
Okay, great. Yeah, we're really excited about working with Kiva on this. And, we've got over 8,000 people that receive our newsletters. And so we regularly work with the businesses in our county, and we live here and grew up here and have just strong connections in the county. So I think we may bombard you with lots of loan opportunities.
That's good news. Yeah, awesome. I'm glad to hear it.
Great.
Like Commissioner Johnson has a question for you.
Yeah, so wearing my private business hat, when we've talked to different very small companies, and Rick can address this, a lot of them, their cash flow is very dependent. It might be oriented towards the tourist season, boom, or if you're a farmer or egg person, it may be oriented something else. How flexible are you about tailoring the loans to when someone actually has sales and therefore cash to repay the loan? So
yeah, that's a great question. So I can definitely ask my review team a little bit more insights, but something that I could speak towards is an example of that would be those that work in the agricultural sector. They are eligible for a 6-month grace period, right? So us knowing that, tomorrow, crops won't be available. So that's a way that I know that, we account for more time for folks that are in specific industries. Yeah.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a little bit of talk in the chat, and maybe we can talk about that since we're talking about industry. Is there industry restrictions was one of the questions, if you want to talk about that.
Yep. So there aren't any specific industry restrictions. Your business just must be legal at the federal level.
Fantastic.
And then Lena, there isn't a level of how extensive a business plan it needs to be.
They just need to have a business plan. Okay. All right. Does anybody have any other questions for Natalia?
Natalia, we've got a ad hoc organization called COIN. It's the Clallam Opportunity Investment Network, where our Port Angeles Regional Chamber has been working with investors to invest equity into different local businesses, and CIE and others have all been trying to help businesses get ready for those pitches. Have you worked with a small investment network group anywhere in the U.S. where this is looked at as like part of a capital stack for a small business?
Yeah, so to my knowledge, not yet, but that sounds like an amazing opportunity to think through and see, how we can plug in 0% interest to borrowers in your area. So yeah, definitely open ears. Would love to learn more.
Yeah, it seems like it could actually be a really good channel for the coin investors to use the Kiva platform to get the initial friends and family and then put it out there for the crowdfunding. That's kind of how we're envisioning this could be used in tandem with the coin and lion efforts. So.
Yep, thank you, Rick.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's a fantastic idea.
I have a question for both Natalia and Rick. We're trying to help promote this on the peninsula. What are some of the ways that you're going to market, and how can maybe all of us assist?
Yes. What was the question? How can we get the word out?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. No, all good. So I think, there's a couple of ways, right? So if your organization, wants to become a referral partner, I know that CIE is really paving, the way to start supporting borrowers, when it comes to, technical assistance for the program. So the first thing that comes to me is definitely working close with CIE. If it's of interest of you, to have a referral link, just to kind of see that, the number of borrowers that have, found their way over to Kiva and, found their way over to CIE, that's something that I can also do. And then other than that, yeah, we promote a lot on socials. And so maybe following Kiva and, sharing those opportunities as well.
And I will say we haven't set up a specific marketing or communications plan around this yet, Charisse, beyond what we normally do, but it's a good question.
Yeah.
And, noted.
Well, thank you both. I appreciate that.
Thanks for the question. All right.
All right.
Any last questions?
I'll just jump in and say I'm very excited about this. I actually have been a Kiva lender from way back when the organization first launched, focusing on international loans, and so excited to be able to bring this to our really serious domestic need, especially in rural areas. Yeah, and excited to see how we can percolate it through our local economy here on the peninsula. So thank you.
Thanks. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, we are very excited. And so if we wanted to go to the crowdfunding site and just browse through the personal stories and things like that, where would we go for that?
Yes, I can drop you the link in a sec.
Look through that stuff.
All right, put the link in the chat.
Fantastic. All right, we'll get that up on our website as well, so people can go and check that out. Any last questions? Didn't hear anything?
Thank you, EDC, for supporting this and having this session to introduce it. Peggy and Colleen.
And thank you, Natalia.
And of course, and thank you, Natalia.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
thank you. Thank you, EDC. Thank you, CIE. Yeah, I dropped my email in the chat should you have any questions, and then definitely, not to throw people at CIE, but I know that they're working really hard to
They can
start
handle
the
it.
program. So
Bring it on.
So
Yeah,
go
right.
after them. Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to seeing your faces again.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and I'm going to stop recording.